character and replacing him with a female lead, which would have been absolutely ridiculous. Whether any of those leaks of those scripts were accurate is not even the point. It's the fact that this extreme unorganized—
Wait, hold on. Yeah, and now that I think about it, now that I'm going back into like explaining it, y'all have 3 movies to look at. Now that I think about it. Hello guys, welcome back to another brotherly reaction. I don't know. I just come up, with a brotherly vibe, I guess. But welcome back to the channel, Joseph the Plug. Today we're going to be looking at why Marvel canceled Blade, and not because it was a racist thing to do. I have some doubts about this, but I want to hear it from him. And there's another guy who also talks on this topic, but he has more of a, let's say, foul mouth. So we're gonna see why they canceled it, but at the same time I'm kind of like 50-50, because they do this to almost every black movie we can think of. Almost every one of the like Marvel heroes, like Black Panther was the greatest that Marvel has ever produced out of their their studio, because it was great. It brought that culture from Africa and stuff like that. But then when it comes on to like Blade, we can't even make another one. When it comes to Wonder Man, they made a couple seasons and then they canceled it, and then Sam the Falcon becomes Captain America. And now we're just going to see where it goes now, because I don't know what's going to happen. And they might even sideline or cancel Miles Morales, or probably change the skin color. I don't know. I honestly don't know. So let's get into it. But before we get into it, please subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'm saying, stay tuned, because I'll be doing things like this very, very often, hopefully. So let's dive into the world of movies.
It generally pisses me off when a studio doesn't move forward with a movie or TV show that happens to have a black lead, and the immediate assumption is it's canceled because they're black or they're racist, without ever investigating what actually happened to those projects. You see this all the time. You'll see someone put up a post with multiple black leads in their projects and their TV shows or movies that have been delayed, sidelined, or canceled, and that's enough for people to assume that something racial happened.
I mean, kind of yes and kind of no, because like if we look at the statistic charts, like I believe that like when I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier, when they had their little series, there were some lines that I agree with and there were some lines that I don't. It's just sometimes bad story writing, or probably bad script writing. But at the same time, I think the most like I think it's just based on racial profile at this point, because nowadays is like in 2026, I'm saying, like now the community is saying it's okay to be racist, which is I'm saying, like, it's not good to be racist. I don't want to be racist. I love every skin color imaginable. Don't care where you're from. We love you for who you is. Probably, I'm saying, like, because I have an Asian friend and he's a good friend. Met his family and stuff like that. I got no problem with that. But like when it comes on to these things like these, makes me question why we even do these.
Man, I'm just rambling. Because Mahershala Ali is black, and victimizing black people dilutes our grievances when actual racism is actually happening, because those grievances won't be taken serious if we're constantly saying that every situation where it's not in our favor is because of racism. I'm not saying that racism doesn't exist in the industry. It's alive and well. Or that black leads haven't been treated unfairly. But sometimes a black person can be on the losing end of a decision without their blackness being the reason why the decision was made. One of the best examples of that is Mahershala Ali's Blade that was supposed to come out. Because when you look through all the bullshit that happened from 2019 until now, and Mahershala Ali being cast as Blade, you start to realize that this story has a lot less to do with race, and Marvel spending over 7 years turning something that was originally a great investment into a complete shit show.
Bro, and I was so excited that Blade was coming in as a working project until they announced it. And I was so excited because y'all got to remember that the three Blade movies that were the leading role who played Blade, I think his name was William Snipes, if I'm being correct. He played Blade amazingly, and I loved every second of when he played the character Blade. And that became the foundation of Marvel. And I'm like, and since we're getting Blade back in 2026, and then we was going to have a game that was going to be, with Blade, or probably in a different timeline, but still we were going to get the video game Blade, which would have been so cool. But they canceled the video game, and they canceled Blade that was about to come out, because they was also going to introduce us to because in the trailer it also introduced us to I think it was the Black Knight, and it was so cool to see that, because I would love to see that movie and love to see the interaction between the Black Knight and Blade, and probably some other people that would make an appearance in Blade. But you just can't get what you want all the time, so it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. All right, we're skipping.
Person that reached out to Marvel to make this film, and Marvel agreed. After coming back from a 2-time Oscar performances, I would assume that he felt like he had the leverage to go ask Marvel to do a project of this caliber, which is understandable. So when he asked, Marvel didn't really hesitate. So that obviously shows that Marvel wanted him to become the Blade and saw him as a great fit for the role at that time. Then the bullshit starts. Obviously, COVID begins late 2019, early 2020. There wasn't an industry that COVID didn't affect. Production shut down, release dates moved, studio plans changed. Every business was impacted by COVID. So immediately, time gets burned on a film that was just announced by Marvel. So when we get to the problems that started arising with Blade, it starts out with the first initial director, Tariq Wu, left the project in September 2022. Marvel reported that the reason why Tariq left was the fact that the scheduling and the creative differences, they were just not on the same page on that front. And Tariq wasn't the fit for the movie as a director. But then Marvel brings in another director. They bring in Jan Dimaj, who actually was referred by Mahershala Ali and hand selected by him. And Jan Dimaj also ends up leaving the project as well. With this, they were also dealing with delays, rewrites, and just the uncertainty of what the film was going to be about. So now you already have 2 directors that are already gone before this movie gets off the ground. Then you get into the writers. Blade went through several writers and multiple versions of the story. Stacey O.C. Kufor, Michael Starberry, Nick Pizzolatto, Michael Green, Eric Pearson. They went through so many different versions that they even tried exploring different time periods because they just couldn't find a story that they were...
Well, make a new one. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's 2026. You already have what's her name, Mr. or Mrs. Fantastic. The girl that's is kind of like Fantastic Four. She can stretch and create all these things. Like, they literally changed her powers and changed the storyline as well. Why couldn't you do this with Blade, but still keep the original story, or at least some of the aspects still in the movie? You know what I mean? Like, I don't get how hard it is to write a story. Like, for instance, Iron Man. Well, Iron Man is not a great example of it because it's the same thing. What's a great example of this? There's not a great example of it, but probably when it comes to rebooting, I forgot who did they reboot? There's a movie that I'm trying to get in my head that they rebooted and they changed some of the stuff. I'm not honestly sure which one. I forgot, but it was so cool to see it because, I mean, like, it's story writing, you know what I mean? It's not that hard to write a story as long as it makes sense. But in other aspects of the game, of how you write and tell a inspirational story, especially when it comes to a black superhero or superhero in general, you should be able to do it. I don't honestly see how it was very hard to, write Blade as a character and the storyline. That's just me.
Confident in making. Some of the writers were talking about completely removing Blade as the main character and replacing him with a female lead, which would have been absolutely ridiculous. Whether any of those leaks of those scripts were accurate is not even the point. It's the fact that this extreme unorganized...
Wait, hold on. Yeah, and now that I think about it, now that I'm going back into explaining it, y'all have 3 movies to look at. Now that I think about it, since Blade was the foundation of Marvel, why didn't the directors and the writers go back? And they should have brought Wesley Snipes as well, and he just reads the script and changes a few things because he was the original Blade. And you have 3 Blade movies to look at because they wrote it and it was a success, and boom, it became, as it is today. So why not y'all look back? Now that I think about it now that I think about it,
of this script and this film is constantly burning time while they're going through it. And then in 2023, the writer's strike happened. During this writer's strike, over 11,000 writers in Hollywood went on strike, disputing their wages and their job security. So who's to say that this didn't affect that entire situation as well? That's already 5 years down the drain. We have COVID, multiple directors, multiple writers, production delays, and then obviously the writer's strike. And that's not even the biggest part of this situation, because while the movie Blade was falling apart, Marvel itself was making a pivot. Kevin Feige even said that he connected a lot of Blade's problems to Marvel's overexpansion. Disney Plus is probably one of the worst decisions because they started producing a lot more bullshit.
They produced The Mandalorian was a good High School Musical, the series. I don't think we need another High School Musical. The original High School Musical was good enough. Lady and the first and foremost, are they making live action versions of this, like Timmy Failure, The Clone War, What If is kind of 50-50, Monsters at Work. I think we do need another one, but I'm not sure. Marvel's Hero Project, The Falcon. Okay, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier were actually good. Loki was actually good. WandaVision, to be honest with you, I don't know how to feel about that. The only one that I feel good about is The Mandalorian, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and Loki, because those were the best ones out of everything I'm seeing right now.
And prioritizing quantity over quality. More shows, more movies, more characters, more content, and eventually Marvel got spread too thin. And that context matters because that's not the Marvel that Mahershala Ali entered in 2019. Marvel was running up a bag in 2019 beforehand. Before they had Black Panther, and then they had the Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame in the previous years. So he really got in the worst possible time imaginable. So with Marvel going through a strategic correction, it went from feeding the audience with as much Marvel content as possible to realizing that they needed fewer projects, more time, and higher quality to regain their credibility again. So now Blade isn't just fighting its own production problems, it's sitting inside a company that's completely reconsidering their entire content strategy. And if you were Marvel, why would you force Blade, one of the most notable IPs in Marvel, the IP that basically catapulted Marvel into success with Wesley Snipes? Why would you make that IP and risk not making it as best as possible? Blade isn't just a throwaway character where you can just make one movie and then you're done. He is a franchise, several movie character. Wesley Snipes already proved that he can carry a franchise in the 90s. So if you're Marvel, the worst thing that you could possibly do at this moment is take one of their most recognizable characters and absolutely nerf him by not giving the best script and best story that the audience could appreciate and want more of when they see it. And this is where all the delays become extremely important, because they all did one thing: they burned time. When Mahershala Ali was announced as Blade in 2019, he was 45 years old. If Blade was made,
he was 45 years old. Wait, how old is he now? Because they delayed it for 7 years. which is crazy work.
In 2022, different conversation. 2023, still a different conversation, but they waited 7 years. And today, Mahershala Ali is 52 years old. Obviously.
Okay. He is 52 years. Yeah, they wasted his potential of being Blade. Like, geez, man. Ali, if I'm saying his name right, Ali is a good actor. I've seen some of his movies that he acts in. Amazing. I don't know what the problem is.
Marvel didn't come out and say, yeah, Mahershala, we didn't cast you because you're too old to play this role, and we don't see you playing Blade until you're 60. But if you're a business and you're Marvel yourself, would you put hundreds of millions of dollars and potential box office successes on someone whose runway is extremely short? It's not because he can't act, not because he can't do action. As you guys know, he's doing Your Mother, and he's going to be able to showcase those abilities now, but that's a one-off situation. The argument is about, will you get a return on investment with someone that's on the tail end of their action career? Because when we look at how Marvel originally built the MCU, Robert Downey Jr. was 41 when he was casted as Iron Man. Chris Evans was casted as Steve Rogers at 28. Chris Hemsworth was casted as Thor when he was 25. Scarlett Johansson was casted as Black Widow when she was 25. Tom Holland was casted as Spider-Man at 19 years old. And he has 10 years in the game and is still young and still 30 years old. And could probably play Spider-Man for another 10 years. Even Chadwick was in his late 30s when they casted him as the Black Panther. But the crazy thing about this is, and something that this really pertains to more, is the fact that Wesley Snipes, when he started Blade, he was 36 and they had 3 movies before he was 41 years old. So they were buying runway. They were buying actors that they could potentially use for 10 plus years. Multiple solo movies, Avengers, crossovers, cameos, and whatever else they wanted to build. And with Blade being such a large character, you would want to see multiple films and appearances of Blade. So if you're asking Mahershala Ali to start this character at the age of 52, you're basically asking him to play an old Blade till he's in his 60s. At that point...
Yeah, now that I think about it, I think it was... No, here's the thing. He's a great actor, and I'm not saying he's not a great actor, but if we're talking about longevity in itself, you need to go for someone younger, not someone who's like... He's like 45, and I'm not saying his ability is not there. I'm just saying, like, if we're going to make him Blade, why are we going to make him old? And if we're going for longevity, why don't we go for someone who's probably not famous that kind of looks identical to Blade? You know what I mean? Like, we need somebody who's going to step into the spotlight, but they don't know what direction they need to go into. And now we're just trying to stack money onto... into older people who are superstars. It just don't make sense.
I mean, why don't you just get Wesley Snipes to get back? I mean, they did it with Deadpool and Wolverine. Again, this is no disrespect to Mahershala Ali. It's simply business. It's not that could Mahershala Ali play Blade for 1 year. It's should they invest hundreds of millions of dollars to this IP, to building the next decade of Blade around him. And as we can see, Marvel's current direction makes this even more relevant. Look at Phase 7 in the Mutant Saga. Marvel is preparing a new generation of characters that can potentially have the same foundation as the previous actors that we had in the Avengers, etc. They're getting younger talent into these roles while Feige is streamlining the universe, and with Avengers, Doomsday, and Secret Wars restarting the entire thing and starting from scratch. So when you think about what Marvel's position is, you have a Blade movie that was conceived 7 years ago with an actor who is now 52 years old. After years of creative problems, you can either cast him or start over and cast somebody younger that you feel confident in carrying the character of Blade for a decade and more. From a business standpoint, I would choose the latter. And that's where I think the real reason of why Blade was canceled. It wasn't COVID alone. It wasn't the directors dropping out. It wasn't the bad scripts. It wasn't the writer strike. It wasn't Marvel overexpanding. It was a culmination of all those things combined together, burning 7 years in the prime time of Mahershala Ali's career. What made sense in 2019 doesn't necessarily make sense in 2026. That's a piece that people keep skipping. That's why I think Mahershala Ali's Blade never happened, and why it's silly to jump to conclusions because he was grouped together with a bunch of actors who happen to be black and projects have been sidelined or canceled, and saying that they didn't move forward with it because he's black. Because when you follow the history, you arrive at somewhere completely different from that conclusion. Marvel wanted Mahershala Ali to be Blade. Then unexpected, creative, physical, natural disasters, and all the shit that happened between 2019 and now occurred, and 7 years disappeared. And by the time that Marvel finally started getting their shit back together and developing a plan to segue into the next phase, the long-term value proposition of Blade wasn't the same that it was in 2019. That's really where Marvel deserves a criticism. They fucked up. They couldn't use Mahershala Ali in his prime time where he could have made a very good run as Blade, a believable run as Blade, because if we're being honest, no one wants an old Blade, right? Can we all agree on that? If someone wants to say that Marvel should have gotten their shit together and made this movie several years ago, I agree. Those are legitimate criticisms. Oh no, I believe it was a business decision of why Marvel didn't move forward with Blade. If you were them, you probably wouldn't move forward with this movie too, with Mahershala Ali at least, because you don't have any runway with him. And at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure businesses don't care about the race as much as how much money that they can generate.
That makes a lot of sense. But I don't know what it means by... I think it's both. I think it's being racist towards the black characters, because the only successful black character that we have in Marvel is Black Panther with Chadwick Boseman. May he rest in peace. But I'm starting to think it's kind of both, because it's bad story writing and the writers are not agreeing. And also, you took 7 years away from Ali, which is crazy. And he was 45, now he's 57. Which doesn't make any sense. Then we're getting another Avengers movies that has no build up, now that I think about it. So let me know what y'all think. Are they being racist towards, black characters or the actors themselves? Or is it just bad story writing, or Marvel needs to, get something done in order to have a successful storytelling movie business? But I don't know, just type what you want in the comments below. I'll read it and see what y'all think. Anyways, that's gonna be it for tonight, and I see you guys in the next one.